has contributed to the advancement of structural engineering. This official description certainly describes this year's recipient, Steve Elver, who I have the great honor of presenting this award to tonight. Steve's contributions to the SEAOI and the profession are quite impressive. He served on the SEAOI board for 10 years, including 2 years as treasurer and a year as president of this organization. Steve has spent many years leading the long-range planning committee, whose responsibility is to keep their eye downfield 5, 10, and 20 years into the future and advise the sitting president on future agendas. He has spent equally many years leading the Structural Engineering Emergency Response Committee, also known as SEAR, whose responsibility is to help to maintain the readiness of the engineering community in the event of a disaster where we are needed to help assess the safety of structures that first responders may need to enter. Not only has Steve held these official positions within SEAOI, but he has worked tirelessly behind the scenes on many other activities and initiatives for the organization. I have sat in countless board meetings where Steve was one of the first hands to raise and say, "I'll pitch in," or "How can I help?" Somehow Steve must have the special ability to squeeze 25 or 26 hours out of every day that the rest of us can only find 24. Outside of SEAOI, Steve's contributions to the profession can certainly be exemplified by the mark he leaves on those around him. It is a well-known truth that what you learn in college merely lays the groundwork for what you learn from your first job and from your first boss. Well, I was fortunate to have Steve as my first boss. His ability to teach and guide me and others that worked for him is a skill that few engineers truly possess, and certainly is a great service to the advancement and the future of structural engineering. I will forever be thankful for everything he taught me. I could go on for quite some time, but I'll conclude with asking my mentor and my friend Steve to please come to the podium to receive this very deserving award, the SEAOI Service Award. Steve.
Well, first of all, I have to thank Shane. Yes, we did go back a ways, and shortly after he left working with me at STS, I used to joke that I taught Shane everything he knew, and then a couple weeks later I decided maybe he's going to quiz me on it, so I better be quiet. So Shane's done quite well himself. So I also want to thank my wife Julie, because while I'm off working on SEAOI activities, Julie's doing my chores around the house and then some. So thank you very much, Julie. I was very surprised to receive this award or learn of this award a couple of weeks ago, and my first thought is I've been so busy I haven't been able to help as much as I used to at SEAOI, and then they told me that this award really is to cover the things I've done over the years, not just the last one, which made me start thinking, boy, I've been involved for a long time and I'm getting pretty old already. So yes, I've been involved in SEAOI for 20 years, but I didn't do it aiming to get a service award or anything else other than working with a bunch of good people on some fun things. So I want to also thank all of the people I worked with on different committees or at activities over the years, and many of them are here today, so thank you very much. Along those lines, I just thought of a few memories when I'm thinking back. I had the luxury or enjoyment, or whatever you want to call it, of going to the U of I and speaking to the student chapter down there. And as anybody who's given a presentation knows, what a tough crowd a bunch of students may be. So I've certainly enjoyed that. I've gotten to meet a lot of very great structural engineers that are great personalities. Bill Lavica rings a bell for one. I did a day-long presentation with Bill, which means I had to spend a month working with Bill Lavica to come up with a day-long presentation. So I enjoyed that, and he was a personal friend for many years, and I'm glad my wife got to meet him as well. Bill Bast is here. I remember a long time ago, by putting enough money on the table, we go on a silent auction and had a dinner at Bill's house. And I don't even know how many years ago that was, but so over the years I met many of you and I enjoyed it a lot. Then besides the committees I've been on, every now and then I can find time to sneak away on a Saturday and join our SEAOI booth and give presentations to students or young people about structural engineers. And this last February was something I thought about because my son brought his wife and our 2 grandchildren along, so I got to show them what structural engineering was all about. And a little side note, I asked my daughter-in-law, what did she think of it? And she said, structural engineers sure are enthusiastic about what they do. So there's a plug. One thing I've been working on for a long time, and not that heavily, but on it over the years, is the Structural Engineering Emergency Response Committee. The idea would be, in case of a disaster, we get a phone call, we can go and help evaluate buildings to determine if they're even safe enough to go in. Can people go in and get their personal belongings out or not? Those type of questions. So the good and the bad about that is, the good news is we've got a plan. The bad news is it's incomplete. So I still plan to continue working on that into the future. I'm just remembering something I heard a long time ago. I've enjoyed working with a guy, many of you know, Clyde Baker, and somebody asked him once, Clyde, how is it that you ended up, writing so many papers? Like, whatever got you to write your first paper? And he said, my boss made me do it. So along those lines, any supervisors here, think about that when you're trying to come up with goals for your employees for the year. Write down, participate in an SEAOI committee. I've enjoyed it over the years. I certainly didn't do it to gain an award, but I certainly have many great memories looking back. So thanks again, and start your own memories.